first 40 were okay, but now things are really starting to get good. Hi everybody, it's Ray again here, and it's time for another installment of my 100 favorite games, and we're starting with numbers 60 through 51 today. So let's get the cavalcade of games going. My number 60 is a little smaller game in a rectangular box called Tournai. Tournai is the sequel to Trois. It's set in 1500s France, but this is a card version of Trois, where you're taking piles of workers and cards, and if you play Trois, this is really the extension of that, where you're building between monks and soldiers and merchants and trying to use those workers as well as these buildings to the greatest effect. It's an engine building game to some degree, but it's also a tableau building in this game because you're putting buildings next to each other and certain things give off different effects, and then there's the major buildings at the end that give you some points. It's sort of a unique experience in that it has a lot of tactical things. You're trying to get workers, you have to give them up for certain things. It doesn't quite fit in any one box, and that's why I really enjoy it. It's my number 60, that's Tournai. Number 59 comes in a much bigger box because I got on to Frescoed just a little bit late. This is the big box version. Fresco is a worker placement game. It's really it's the grandfather of viticulture. And so what you're doing is you're trying to paint this fresco, and you have workers that you go, and I'm going to flip this over because I'll show you just a ton of all the other things that are in this box. But you're trying to paint this fresco for the cathedral that's being built. The biggest thing is you have a series of apprentice workers, and the problem is you want to get the things that you want. That means you have to get up early, and your apprentices like to go to the theater. So if they get up too early too often, then they start getting grumpy and they won't work for you. It really does what it did very well, and that's why they produced a slew of expansions where you're going in and building stained glass windows and creating the bell that goes on top of the cathedral. Gave you a whole bunch of other things to do just besides painting this mural. Anyway, it turns out to be for a very fun game that is as easy or as complicated as you want it. It's Fresco, my number 59. Number 58 is another bigger box game, but it's bigger for different reasons. This is Formula Day. Now, you might recognize this game as Formula D. Oh, no, that's not what this is. This is the same type of game, but we have actual, you have to use your imagination, gear shift boxes with little pawns. And the biggest thing with this game was there came little sheets, little leaflet sheets that you actually got to draw in and custom create your cars. And for those who remember this game, you had to keep a whole extra set of pencils and other things just to have enough things for everybody, especially if you're going to play a massive 8-player game, to fill out your sheets and do a 3-lap race. But no other racing game, in my estimation, really filled all the things that you have to manage, especially in that 3-lap race, to get your car to the finish line without completely falling apart in the interim. And then they also had all sorts of other rules for weather, for suspension, for drafting. Again, just a fabulous, entertaining box, and they had a zillion map expansions. And this is still playable with the newer stuff, with the drivers and other abilities they've added into it. Anyway, this is what I remember the most. This is Formula Day, my number 58. Number 57 is a game that even Sam Healy just recently talked about. This is Coliseum, and this is an underrated game. Days of Wonder put this out, and the idea of the game is you have your own Coliseum. You're putting on shows, so you have to go and acquire the tiles, the resources in order to put on that show, and then you want to try to entice different Roman consuls, proconsuls, and even the emperor himself to come and watch your shows. And so you can make your Coliseum bigger, you can get other different abilities. But the big thing about this game is your points do not stack up during the game. So you only score for your best show that you put on during the whole game. So it's not like you can have a whole bunch of mediocre shows and win. You want to have the best single show over the course of the game. And so that's a little bit different, and sometimes it rubs people just a little bit the wrong way, but still, it's a fun time, and it's dreadfully out of print, but it's one of my favorite games. It's my number 57, and that is Coliseum. Number 56 is a game that just came out just last year, and that's Panamax. And if you haven't seen a lot of the other reviews, Panamax is a game where you're trying to ship goods through the Panama Canal, and you actually have boats of different sizes, and they actually have dice that represent the goods that you are shipping. And so it's kind of interesting to you also have a company. You have to manage your company finances separately from your personal finances, and so at the end of the game, it doesn't matter if your company's rich, you want to be rich in the end, so you can buy stock of your company or other players' companies, and as they do well, then those stocks get better, and if not, so you have, sometimes you might want to let your stock tank a little bit, and then you buy it up, and then you boost the value back up. Or if you see somebody's lagging behind, you buy low while you still can, you have money, and then as they do better, you are going to do as well as they do. So it's a fun game, it's an economic game, and it's also, you get to push these other ships around, so it's part puzzle, part economic. It does a lot of neat things, and it's still, this is something you can get. This is Panamax. It's my number 56. Number 55 is another game that just recently was being talked about. This is Valley of the Kings. Now, this might fool you. It looks like a really tiny box game, but this is really a deck building game with a unique twist. The idea is that you have your own Egyptian family, and guess what? You need to entomb things in order to have them preserved for all time. And so the idea is you have cards in your deck, but none of the cards in your deck are worth points unless you entomb them, remove them from your deck, and put them in your tomb. So not only, like most other deck building games where you're trying to thin out your deck in order to do stuff and make more points, but again, in a lot of these other deck building games like Dominion, you have to keep the points in your deck. This one, nope, you have to keep them out. But that really super great card that would be worth a lot of points, you've got to also get that out of your deck as well. And the way the game goes, it goes by very quickly. And so once you get near the end, everybody is like, oh my goodness, I really wish I had thrown out about 3 other cards by now, and it's too late. So you're always trying to get cards out of your deck, because that's how you score points. Valley of the Kings. Try it. Check it out. It's my number 55. Number 54 is a game that came out a couple years ago, and you've probably seen it. This is Rise of Augustus. It's sometimes affectionately known as Gamer Bingo, and it really is bingo, where you go and have several different bingo cards at once. And sometimes your bingo cards have only a couple of numbers, a couple of objectives, so you just need a couple of common things to come up, and sometimes you might need a whole bunch. And then there's also parts in it where you want to control different colored regions, so you're conquering countries, and if you get them all in the same region, you get bonuses. And they also have this thing too of a clock bonus of if you are the first one to get to a certain number of completed cards, you can collect the bonus, but that's your only chance. There are other sequential bonuses, and so if you pass that up, then you're making the bet that you are going to get to the next objective level higher first before anyone else, or otherwise you're going to get no bonus points. And you want to at least get one of those bonus point tiles, because points can be pretty close together. And then it's got a nice little bag that you pull. Everyone gets a chance to be the person who calls out the items, the resources that come out of the bag, and that's one of my son's favorite parts of it. He always wants to pull these things out, so he's always very happy. It doesn't matter if he's winning or losing. If he gets to pull stuff out of the bag, he's having a good time. Anyway, this is Rise of Augustus, my number 54. Number 53 is a game that has been reprinted since I have gotten it, but this is the copy that I have, and it's Money from Reiner Knizia. This is a set collection game that really talks about how you make money in currency trading. And so the big thing is you have to give up parts that you are saving up in order to take other lots that are available. There are 2 lots in the center that are flipped over, 4 cards each, and then everyone gets to bid on those 2. However, you can when it's your turn, so whoever has the highest bid gets to go first. When it's your turn, you don't have to take one of those two lots in the center if somebody's bid that's been put out you like better. And why would you do that? Well, not only do you want to collect the most in whatever currencies that you're doing, but then there's these triplets. So all the 20s and all the 30s are worth 100 points, or worth quite a bit of points by themselves, regardless of what other denominations of that currency that are there. And so there are alternative ways. You don't have to be always all in on one currency. And so this game rewards you for being very flexible. If you like your set collection games where I'm going to collect this and this is what I'm going to collect and I'm going to go down this one narrow pathway, you are not going to do well at this game. You have to be flexible, and if you're very flexible, you will make the most money, and that's the object of the game. Go find the new version of this or try the iOS app. It's fabulous. That's money. And that's my number 53. 52 is another Days of Wonder game. It's called Relic Runners. This is somewhat Indiana Jones, but it's also kind of puzzly where you're trying to get these different relics out of here, but you have to put down pathways of your color, and the more pathways you chain together as you start to establish this, then that's farther you can go in one turn. And then there's different things of how far you can run around in a single turn. Some of these things only score you points if you can go halfway across the board and back. And so it's a very progressive game. It's also, like I said, it's got a lot of puzzle elements to it, and it doesn't really take all that long. And again, it doesn't get talked about quite a bit, but it's a fun time, and it's definitely a theme that's been done, but it's not always been done very well. And so it's definitely worth a check out. Relic Runners, my number 52. The last one for this set is number 51, and this is Last Will. This is an engine building game, but it's an engine building game where you might need engines of different types and sorts, because the idea is you go and you've gotten some money. This is Brewsters Millions, but in the 1800s. So you get a pile of money. The object is you're trying to make yourself bankrupt, and so you go on parties, you buy estates. The problem is, obviously, with those lands and farms, they are worth money in of themselves. So you can't, you basically, you buy them and ignore them and let them depreciate as much as possible, and then eventually you're still going to have to sell those off and then whittle away the last bit of the money. So you're always at the end of the game trying to get down to the last few dollars, where you're going to parties or the show, or you're giving gifts to folks to try to get those last dollars out of your pocket. Well, the thing is, with some of these things, you can build an engine that will last a really long time, and every turn you'll be giving away money without having to use your valuable actions. But the problem is that there's different amounts of money that you will inherit. So sometimes you might get a small pool of money, and so those long-term engine strategies won't be so great for you. So you have to weigh that carefully. Or if there's a large pile of money, then you might want some of those. And so, yeah, it's just you play it, and it's different based on that length. And so. And they've had an expansion that was also fun about you now have a job and you get fired. Again, it's all just a wonderful experience trying to get rid of your money and relive that Brewsters Millions experience on a first-hand basis. Anyway, give it a try. Last Will, it's my number 51. So we are halfway now through this countdown. I hope you're really enjoying these videos. If you have any questions, feel free. You can find me on Twitter at Instant Game Review. You can also find us on Facebook. You can search Instant Game Review on Facebook. I'm Ray again. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.